Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to the channel. My name is Tony. This is the 15-Minute Gamer and welcome back to iRacing. This is a track guide for the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. This guide is primarily aimed for people like me who are new to the game and this course and they're just looking to kind of get round the best they can. This lap was a smidge over a 135, which I'm pretty happy with, and I average around about a 136. So just quickly, the hardest turns for me are 3 and 5. 5 you can lose a lot of time on, and 3 can be a bit tricky to get right. I'll also be showing you all the areas to watch out for and bits you might want to avoid. So anyway, let's go and check this lap out. So turn 1 is a right-hander. You want to approach from the left. And when you cross the start-finish straight, one of the first things you're looking for is these these lines above you. Once you see the shadow on the circuit start turning into the corner, you don't need to turn too hard. You're not janking it in. Just a little bit of turn, come off the throttle, put a bit of brake on and start aiming towards there. So as you can see there, a little bit more turn, a little bit more turn. I've came off the accelerator now. I'm just sort of controlling the throttle. I'm just putting a little bit of input in, a little bit of brake, just to get me to where I want. So let's take a little look at turn 1 in a bit more detail. So what you're aiming for generally is to keep this curb in the center of your car. Now, I got a lot closer to the wall, but you do run the risk of hitting the wall, which is obviously always a bit of a danger. But what I like about keeping close is as you come round here, the wall automatically kind of designed almost to spit you out towards where you want to be, which is on the outside over here. So it works perfectly because I know when that wall starts falling away that I can start accelerating again and coming off the corner. However, as you can see with iRacing, if you look here, there is a darker patch. There's nothing wrong with kind of following this line and just keeping your right-hand side wheel on the curb. They'll rotate you just as fine. There's no issues. One thing to be very careful of is if you don't quite get it right and you're going too quick, you'll come off about here and you'll just spin into this wall or around here every single time. The amount of times I've hit that wall in practice is crazy. And here it is at full speed. So yeah, little bit of turn, little bit of turn, little bit of turn. Looking out for that curb, keeping it as center as possible. Once the wall spits me out, straight over here and back on the accelerator for turn 2. So as you approach turn 2, keep to the right hand side as much as you can, and it is a blind corner. So just as you're coming over the crest, you want to steer slightly left, lift off the accelerator and add a little bit of brake and hug that white line. It's a double apex and there's 2 key points you want to look out for. So the 2 points you want to look out for on turn 2 is that and that. They're kind of weird grassy areas. There's no curbing at all. And how you want to approach it is to keep your wheel kind of in this track here and in this track here. Naturally, it will sort of spit you out a little bit towards here. And then you just come back in to get your wheel here. And then you hit to 100% acceleration to come out and get on this curb. You can run wide on here. There's nothing wrong with coming down like that. But you will lose a bit of time. However, turn 2 is not too bad. But yeah, try and keep in and get your wheel into them 2 grooves. Start turning just as you go over that crest. You want to keep your left-hand wheel just in that little bit of grass groove there. There you go. You just want to hit that little apex there. Get on the accelerator, 100%. Now, turn 3 is a bit of a bugger. It can be quite hard to get right. You want to start braking. Can you see how just in front, if I just move it forward ever so slightly, so we'll stop there-ish. Can you see how the road's getting darker in front of me? That's roughly where you want to start braking for this turn 3. You want to avoid hitting the curb for as long as possible too. So I'm just going to bring this forward just a little bit. You can see I'm braking. I've dropped down into 4th and I've started turning. We're going to pause that there. So a more detailed look at turn 3. This is roughly where you want to start braking. You can brake there if you're feeling very, very brave, but I tend to brake about here. So really just have to see that advertising hoardings. But yeah, it's this curb here you're kind of looking out for. And you want to avoid hitting, you can see the natural line in here, but there's some advertising hoardings about here. And this is where you want to start hitting the curb here. So you want to keep away from the curb, keep close to it, but you just want to keep away, then start bringing it in a little bit, hit the curb here, and then that will rotate the car quite nicely to head off and down here. Now, one thing you do have to really be careful of is if you run wide onto here, it will ping you off into this wall and smash your car up. It's actually, I don't know why, it just seems to have an awful habit of doing it. But yeah, if you run wide anywhere over here, you'll smash your car up. So just be a bit careful, but you want to brake around about there. Once you see that curb, start braking, keep slowing it down, keep it tight, and only hit the curb here when you see the advertising hoardings on your right. Now, I don't do particularly well in this corner. It's not my best one, but it also shows that you can take a different line. So first off, at half speed, see I'm turning, I'm keeping quite close. I just carried a bit too much speed. And if we just go back a little bit, there's that advertising hoardings. Can you see them? That's where I should be hitting the curb, but you can see I wasn't quite on it. I just missed it. So yeah, I ran wide. And this is where you have to be pretty careful. If you run on that grass area there, it will just fire you into the wall. And most times, it's been very few times I can get it back. But yeah, come off that curb, and then you set yourselves up nicely for turn 4. Now, turn 4 is pretty much flat out, and the one thing you want to notice is this bridge. It's not hard to miss, but that is kind of your reference point for turn 4. You can lift a little bit if you want, but there's no need, you can do it flat out. So you want to start turning about there is where you want to start turning, and let's have a more detailed look at this corner. So here's turn 4, here's the bridge, and the other bit I'm going to point out is here-ish is kind of where you want to be. So you want to start turning about here and heading in towards these white lines. These are kind of like drop curbs, like drains almost. You want to avoid them because it can really unsettle the car. So you just want to keep as close as possible to this white line. You can take it at some speed. But the most important aspect of this turn is to make sure you come off here straight. You need to really come off this curb straight because it compromises turn 5. Turn 5's a bit of a tough one. So yeah, you want to make sure you come off here and keep in and keep straight. And now let's take a look at that at full speed. So you see, just started turning just under that bridge. Rode that curb a little bit and I'm straight for here. Turn 5. I don't like this corner. It's really easy to get wrong. But what you want to do is at this point here, you want to start braking. And this is why you need to be in a straight line, otherwise it can really unsettle the car. This one is best viewed from above. So there's a few things I want to point out on this one. We're going to point out this curb, we're going to point out this one, we're going to point out this one, and then we're going to point out this one. This one here, you want to avoid. Don't hit that curb. It's really big. And in fact, I don't know if you can see, yeah, you can see the slight colours here. This is a bank. It kind of goes like that. Yeah, so you want to basically avoid this curb. But the idea is for this one, you want to approach it as straight as possible. Brake and brake and brake and brake. And you don't really want to hit this curb again. You want to avoid it. But you can touch it slightly if you need to. But I would avoid it if you could. And you want to run, even though it's counterintuitive because the track's turning, you want to run straight about here before you start turning. And that's how you want to avoid that curb. But you need to get the best run you can up here because there's a big, long uphill straight. So this is why I can compromise you because there's lots of things that can go wrong here. If you hit that curb, so we'll get rid of all the markings. If you hit this curb anywhere like here, it'll just unsettle the car and you'll go around about here. And if you go around about here, you'll either shoot off into here or it'll turn you around up here, which is a big hill. And then to get back, you kind of got to go like that and you waste so much time. If you go in too deep, you're going to run off over here. However, luckily there is a bit of a runoff area and it's actually, it does stop you quite nicely. But yeah, you can catch up and get back, but it's going to compromise this whole uphill section. So yeah, just kind of avoid this curb and avoid this curb and you'll be fine. So let's take a look at that at full speed. I am now braking, running out wide to that curb. And then come back in, avoiding that massive curb, using that runoff area, and off I go up the straight. Now there is technically a turn 6 and 7 up here. However, they're not really turns. There's nothing to do. You're just heading straight up. I do tend to keep a bit more to the right. but it doesn't matter too much. The next turn is a right-hand turn, so you will need to come across left at some point. I usually come across there just for that marshal's post on the left-hand side, as you can see. Now, turn 8 is quite a fun little sequence of events, and you want to approach this. You don't really need to brake at the beginning. You kind of brake once you get on the curbing, and you want to keep as close to the white line as possible, but you do need to keep quite tight to it because you need to be straight for turn 9. So let's have a look at the beginner list in slow motion. So you can see here. Now what you're looking for is this bit of extra fencing on the left hand side. You can see between the two posts. And that's when I start turning in. There you go. I'm start turning in. Still just sort of keeping off that throttle. I'm just sort of controlling that throttle just to keep me in with them lines. And let's have a look from outside. So here's that fence I was talking about. So you can see there, it doesn't exist before that post. It's kind of in between the two. And you can see I've already started turning. That's where you want to start turning in. This is roughly where you want to start braking, kind of around here to here. It's fine. It's quite a quick corner, to be fair. And you want to keep as close into this white line as possible. You can run a little bit out if you want to. But the main thing is you want to be coming off here straight to brake. So if we have a look at that, and this is why you want to keep straight here, because you need to maximize your braking time. If you let your car run out over here, you'll have to pull back over, and that's really going to compromise this corner. So first off, let's look at that slowly. So you can see I'm keeping it nice and tight. I'm in 4th gear at this point. I'm just sort of feathering that throttle and a little bit of brake when I need it. Keeping tight, keeping nice and straight. See, I've got a nice straight line here. As soon as I straighten out, I'm on the brakes. I'm on the brakes down to 3rd, so I can start hitting this corner here. So on this one, you've already applied the brakes. You're down into 3rd gear. And you just want to keep tight. You can ride it as much as you want. It can unsettle the car, but there's a bit of a jump. Can you see just there, just in front of the bonnet? There we go. That's kind of equal to where that jump is. So just be careful if you do hit that. It is going to unsettle the car slightly. I tend to just avoid it and keep a little bit on the outside. But again, you want to come off that straight for this final corner, because this final corner can catch you out if you're not being careful. Let's take a look at that whole sequence at full speed. So you can see I just turned in at that fence. I'm keeping the throttle feathered, a little bit of brake here and there just to keep me tight, straighten up, hard on the brakes, down into 3rd, keeping against that curb, but not using it fully because there is that little bit of a jump which can unsettle the car. And I'm prepped myself and set myself up for this final corner, which can be a bit of a bugger, to be fair. You want to be on the brakes as you approach it. Now, this curb is a little bit nasty. You can use it, but again, it can unsettle the car. And if we look from above, so you can see by the darker markings, roughly where you want to start braking for this one. And what you got to be really careful of is if you hit this curb, it can ping you over here. And if it pings you over there, you'll smack that wall and end up somewhere like there. So you got to be a little bit careful. There's been a few times as well. Also, if you unsettle on this curb, you can actually end up in here. Like if it can just spin you off a little bit. So yeah, just be a bit careful. It is quite a big one. But you want to be approaching it, riding it a little bit, and then coming over here so you can get as good run as possible down this little straight back into turn 1. And at full speed. So keep it in, just ride it a little bit. Let it run out wide, accelerator on 100%, and power down into turn 1. And there we go, guys. That is the lap complete. Now, let's look at the whole thing at full speed. So you want to apply a little bit of brake after the crest. You'll notice the curb and head towards it. Keep the center of your car, or you can come over a little bit closer to the wall and then just run off. Turn 2, keep to the right hand side. It's blind. Get turned in just after the crest. You want your outside wheel in them 2 little weird grassed areas. 100% acceleration down on there. Turn 3 can be tough. As I said, I messed this up a little bit on this one, but you want to hit the curb in roughly where that sign is, and that will rotate the car lovely to hit this. Coming up to turn 4, this is another blind one. Just as you approach the bridge, you want to start turning. You can keep that accelerator down. You can lift a little bit if you want, but it's fine. Turn 5, brake, 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 brake. Keep the car as straight as possible, as long as possible. Avoid that inside curb, run to the outside, and off we go down the super long straight. As I said, if you get turn 5 wrong, it can really upset you for this because it is a long way up. Turn 6 and 7 are on this. Again, they're not really turns, so you don't have to worry about it. But this will approach turn 8, which is the S's. You want to keep to the left-hand side, so once you come up here, head left. It's kind of where that marshal post is. Get over there. Once you see the fence on the left-hand side, turn in, off the accelerator, keep feathering it, keep that going, keep a little bit of braking, just make sure you're straight, hard on the brakes, down to 3rd gear, ride that curb a little bit, keep tight, down to the final corner, brake, brake, brake. You can ride that one, make a little bit of a jump, off you go, head on there, straight down the finish straight, and there you go. You're ready for a new lap. And that's it, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. That was my first proper lap guide. If you enjoyed it, let me know. Comment below to let me know what you think, or is there anything you would like to see differently? Did you enjoy the little bit of drone stuff I was doing? I just kind of wanted to really show it from a beginner's point of view. Anyway, guys, I'll catch you all later. Goodbye.